Hi, my name is Gentry Mullen, and this is my first solo show of my life, which is just amazing to me. It's called Fact and Fiction, and it's at the Kansas City Public Library, Central Branch. Hope you can come see it. I've been in Kansas City since 1984. I moved here from Omaha, which is where I grew up, to go to the Art Institute. I had actually studied for a couple of years at Iowa State before I came down to Kansas City. I was studying landscape architecture at the time. And one of my instructors, she was a watercolor teacher, she said, if you really want to study art, just study art. There's going to be competition no matter what you do. And I come from a family of lawyers and business people and accountants and not art people. So I was always faced with the question, well, how are you going to make a living? And I never had an answer. You're in kindergarten, you get a box of watercolors and some lousy paper, newsprint or whatever, and start painting. The teacher tells you to start paint something, and that's what you do. And I really always enjoyed doing that. Probably, when I was a teenager, I would just go to the library and pore over books about, Rubens or Delacroix or any other, Van Gogh, any other painter they had a book on the shelf, I would pick it up and just sort of get sucked into that world. So I became a designer, but making fine art was really something I always wanted to do. And I always felt like I could do it if I just decided to take the time. All I really need is a pencil and a piece of paper, and I could start creating it. Having a full-time job and being a parent sort of took the wind out of my sails in terms of thinking I could actually be an artist as well. But my kids are grown now, and most of my time is my own. I've been wanting this forever, so I'm gonna do it. And then I really started thinking about, who do I want to become as a painter? What sorts of images do I want to create? What sort of color palettes do I want to use? Nothing was off the table for me. A lot of the artists that I really like have a very comical sensibility, like Red Grooms. A lot of the Chicago Imagist artists from the 60s. They're influenced by pop culture, comics. I love Art Spiegelman. When I decided I was going to actually paint, put brush on paper or canvas or whatever, I really only had one clear idea in mind, and that was I didn't want to paint in a square or a rectangle. Sort of silly or dumb idea, but I just didn't want to be bound by four edges. So I actually used the computer to draw these sort of irregular shapes, and actually this painting Afterlife was the very first shape that I drew. I'd drawn dozens of shapes like that. And then I transferred some of it to paper, and I was just doing sort of these non-objective stripes and color fills, and it was very organic in the way it evolved forward. Once I determined some shapes that I liked, the song "Where Have All the Flowers Gone" came on. The narrator is asking the question, where have all the flowers gone? The flowers being the flowers that were planted in remembrance of the soldiers who died. And in fact, those flowers were all picked by young girls who didn't know what they represented, and so they all went away, and then people forgot that the soldiers were buried, they had gone into a fight, and it becomes a cyclical song, and a cyclical thing that humans do is we fight and then we forget about it, and then because we forgot about it, we fight again. So that's where actually this painting Requiem came from. I had this idea of this Pinocchio-like figure, putting him in a coffin shape, and I went ahead and knocked it out on paper, and it felt pretty good, so I decided I'm gonna do this one kind of human size, real casket size. For me, this piece is not just about soldiers, it's about so many things that our country has done either with good intention or with bad intention, maybe in spite of its best intention, we fail a lot. That came along about the same time that Afterlife came along, and I've always loved rabbits, and I love the fact that rabbits in particular, I like the form, I love the long legs, I love the ears, I love just the shape of them. I love the fact that they represent something very vulnerable to me because they are very low on the food chain, and I love the fact that they reproduce so quickly as an evolutionary adaptation. But there's just lots of different things I love about rabbits and what they represent to me personally. Again, the idea of taking something non-objective and then punching something sort of representational out of that, once I sort of evolved into that way of thinking, then all this stuff sort of started pouring out. By happenstance, several people that have gone to Italy have brought me back souvenirs of Pinocchio. You know, when he's grows his ears and the long nose and all of it, I literally love the shape of Pinocchio. And that it's not necessarily more complicated than that. I went ahead and read the book, not in Italian, but the English translation, the book by Carlo Collodi, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It was it's so inventive, and I loved the fact that Pinocchio really, in his heart, he really does try and be a good person. His intentions are always well-meaning, but he can not defy, no matter how hard he tries, any bit of temptation. He just constantly falls off his pedestal and follows, some shady character or gets in some shenanigans which he shouldn't be. There's really a lot going on in the book, even though it's a children's book. But I would recommend it to anyone. If this work speaks to you at all, then you should totally read the book Pinocchio. The figure, whether it's a rabbit or Pinocchio or anyone else, ultimately, it's me. I see myself as all of these things. In the painting behind you there, Where Are You Going? Will You Take Me With You? It's based on the Marmon Wasp, which was the very first car that ever won the Indy 500. And then I decided I want to paint it, and so I decided to put Pinocchio in it. And then I decided that the car by itself was not enough. We needed to have a relationship with something else going on in the painting. And that's why I added the rabbit. That's sort of me too. So I'm the one at the wheel, but I'm also the one saying, hey, what's going on here? Where are you going? It doesn't matter where you're going. I want to be included too. That piece Ship Shape, I was really thinking about, in the tradition of Western art, there are a lot of references to Ship of Fools, the Ship of State, things like that. And I really wanted to do a ship full of a crew of Pinocchio characters led by a rabbit. Why? I don't know why. It just all sort of came out. But I have had so many people respond to that painting. It is just, I'm thunderstruck because I really thought this was just the silliest, goofiest thing that no one would really understand or appreciate, but people just again and again they're saying, I really love this ship you painted. And it just reinforces the idea that, for me at least, that that my own path is the right path. The fact that each of these paintings floats off the wall and casts a shadow, for me the shadow becomes part of the total composition, and I really like that. A friend of mine mentioned, when he saw the show, he said he was surprised that we subtitled paintings by Gentry Mullen. Well, I don't think of them as paintings, he says. I say them more as sculptures because they are floating off the wall, because they do have a three-dimensionality, because the shapes are so specific to themselves and they're not in a rectangle. I think that he really thinks of them as sculptures now. I love you and I know that you love me. That piece is really about, if you're a gay man and it speaks to you, I think that's awesome. If you're not a gay man and it makes you question how you express affection for your friends, for your male friends, then I think that's valuable too. I'm not a hyper-masculine guy. I do hug other men, actually more than I ever thought I would. And there's one who he kisses me on the mouth every time he sees me, and he loves me, and he lets me know that in a very authentic way. But it has value no matter who you are. I do really feel like the work should speak for me in a way that I can't always articulate. If some people see the work and say, I wish I would have thought of that, I think that would be a huge compliment. Earlier in my life, I really thought a lot about trying to create work that other people would respond to. And now that I'm older, I realize that I can't know how anyone's going to respond to anything ever, so I don't try. I'm trying to please myself, and hopefully someone else will be pleased at the same time and decide to come along for the ride with me. I fully expect to be painting the rest of my life. It's I deferred my dream for a very long time, but now I'm pursuing it actively. I'm in a very happy place with it too.